Hey everyone, it's Gary here from Echidna Sewing, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new quilt border frame system from Durkee in the USA. Okay, so the quilt border frame system, I also like to call them a sash frame because in the commercial industry it's basically the same type of frame that we use, and we call them commonly sash frames. Now, there's 4 different sizes that we carry here in Australia, and they are designed for the Brother PR6 and 10 needle machines, and we also have one available for the Brother PRS 100, which is the single needle version of those tubular machines. But first of all, we'll have a look at just what it is and what it actually contains. So when you get one of these products, and I'm going to go show you this one, this is the 360 by 200 size, which will work on all the Brother 10 needle machines. And to give you a bit of an idea, as you can look around here, it's got these little clamping systems. I'm going to take them off in a moment and show you how they work, but there's these black clamps. It's a very well-made aluminium product. It's beautifully engineered, and the clamps actually hold the fabric on, and we'll see that in a minute. But it also comes in each hoop will come with this little tool for actually taking the clamps off, and it makes it really, really easy to use. But before I show you that, I want to compare that to the standard tubular hoop that comes with the machine. So here's the 360 by 200 hoop that you would be familiar with if you have a 10 needle machine. And this is what we call a tubular hoop. And of course, that means that the inner ring actually pops into the outer ring, and that holds the fabric in place. You're all familiar with that. But you're also probably familiar with using the bigger hoops. It kind of can be difficult to hoop up sometimes and keep the fabric quite firm in the hoop, so it's not pulling, it's not giving you any gathered effects, particularly along the long edges of the hoops where you've got more possibility for the fabric to actually pull during stitching. So sash frames actually eliminate that problem. I'll show you how that all works. So let's just get rid of this hoop here. We don't need that anymore. So when you receive these hoops, the black clamps will be in place on the hoop, and you'll need to use this little tool to remove them. And to do that, you just simply slide it in. There's a little slot just here. It slides over there, and you just pull them off like so. Really, really simple, which means when you're removing your item from the hoop, it's super easy as well. You won't be breaking any fingernails or anything like that because they will just slide off. So let's just take those little clamps, and I got to say, these are exactly the same clamps as we use in the commercial industry on the commercial sash frames. You'll see under those clamps there's this extruded aluminium bar here, which is kind of textured with little ribs, and you can imagine that goes a long way to making sure that the fabric is gripped extraordinarily well so it can't move during your embroidery. So those bars are all around this aluminium base on the hoop. The mounting arms here are the same as on your the hoop that came with the machine. So here's the good thing on the Brother machines. When you put this hoop onto your machine, the machine will recognize it as a 360 by 200 hoop, or a 14 by 8 in the old scale. In fact, there's a little label on the machine, on the hoop, saying it's a 14 by 8. This particular hoop is recognized. The only one that isn't in the range is the 200 by 200, and I'll explain that in a moment. But so you've got the 360 by 200. There is also a 300 by 200, which is this guy. So that's the biggest one for the 6 needle machines. Obviously the 6 needle won't take the 360 by 200, but the 300 by 200 will work. And of course it will also work on the 10 needle machines. Then, as I mentioned, there is also a 200 by 200, and I've actually got that hooped up at the moment with some fabric in it and a beautifully stitched design. Now I want to talk about this just quickly. Here is one of the practical benefits, probably the biggest benefit of using a sash frame. I had this design stitched out yesterday for me. It's a John Deere design. It's a beautiful design, very detailed, absolutely exquisite. And it's got 130,000 odd stitches in that design. And I can tell you, if I was stitching that on a traditional hoop like this 200 by 200 flat frame for the PR series machines, I would be really struggling to get that perfect non-puckered effect around the edge of the design, because with 130,000 stitches, you've got pulling, you've got pushing, you've got fabric displacement, you've got all sorts of things going on, but the sash frame holds it beautifully. So let's actually take a look at how we would release this from the hoop at the moment. Again, I've stitched this out on a lovely big piece of fabric. We're going to turn that into a bit of a cushion or something. Grab my little release tool. So you can see that the fabric is absolutely rock solid. There is no pull or push going on at all on this design, and it's just stitched so beautifully. So to remove the clamps, we just simply use this guy here, pop that in there, and just flick it off. Really, really simple. Hope camera guy's getting a good shot on that. He's nodding his head saying, yep, definitely. So that just pops off, and you can see the fabric is easily released then. Let's pop that over there. We'd give that a bit of a press out with a bit of steam. That'll just settle all those little hoop marks there. And look at that, not an ounce of puckering, which on a 130,000 stitch design is extraordinary. Now, how much stabilizer would you want to use on a design with 130,000 stitches? Now, this is like a gabardine or something. It's quite firm, and it's going to make a nice sort of cushion or wall hanging, whatever we want to do with it. But nonetheless, with 130,000 stitches, regardless of what fabric you're using, you would typically want to use a lot of stabilizer just to make sure that it's got enough support. All I had to use here was one layer of our standard medium cutaway, and that has held everything in place beautifully because the fabric could not move. There is no way it was going to slip in that sash frame. And I tell you, once you do a big design for the first time and you see that perfect result at the end, you'll go, wow, that was one of my best investments. So let's just move that out the way, and I'll quickly show you another benefit of being able to do big designs, because you may have seen this design in our showroom from time to time if you've been here, but that is massive, and that's been done on the Brother Jumbo frame on the 10 needle. It's actually a split design. It's been split in two, and one of our customers did this for us for a convention several years ago. She did an amazing job, but I can tell you, for most people getting that result, it's really difficult. It's a hard job. You've got to stabilize perfectly, and you will tend to get a bit of puckering. So using a sash frame makes it so much easier. Now, the reason I wanted to show you that is because for the 10 needle, there is also, we'll move this guy out the way for a minute, there is also the jumbo frame equivalent. Now, that's the jumbo frame size. Let me grab a Brother Jumbo frame. And so this is the standard jumbo frame that you can buy for the 10 needle machines, and it's a split frame. In other words, it will sew first half of the design, you'll twist it around, the camera comes on, it scans the fabric and works out where the design has to continue on, and you continue with the second part of the design. But again, anyone who's ever hooped with this hoop knows that it's great and it does a fantastic job, but it's a challenge to stop the fabric from pulling around the perimeters and the extremities of the hoop, particularly on heavy stitch count designs, because it's just the physics of embroidery. So I think this is great. The jumbo sash frame is going to be a huge hit. Now, let's see how you would actually hoop on that. We'll take these away. These belong with that guy there. Each hoop does come with its own set of clamps. Now, there is a fantastic and very detailed educational video that Durkee have created, which we have on our website. So please watch that. That gets a bit more into detail about the hooping process. But I wanted to show you one of the benefits of hooping a large quilt block or a large quilt sandwich on a hoop like this. So let me grab that and we'll have a look. Okay, so I've just grabbed this quilt sandwich that we've got, which is just basically a homespun, some of the battleizer to give it a lovely loft and a quilted effect, and we're using a see-through cutaway on the back. Now this is quite a big panel, and the benefit of this large hoop is that I've got loads of opportunity to create lovely big quilt blocks, and because this jumbo frame, it stitches out to 360 by 360 or 14 inches by 14 inches. So if you've got a 10 needle machine and you haven't experimented with your jumbo frame yet, it's good fun. You can do so much with it. Now, getting these clamps on is a pretty simple process. The best way to do it is to obviously have a lovely workspace. Don't clutter up your workspace. You need a good workspace for these big frames. And I will point out too, you'll notice that I'm hooping on one of our non-slip hooping mats. These are the silicone rubber mats, which you can use as a pressing mat or a hooping mat. The reason I'm doing it on here is my hoop doesn't slide around on the table, and it makes it a whole lot easier. So let's just pop this guy back into position and see how we go hooping up. Now, you can very easily feel for the perimeter of the hoop, and there are some little notches that you can actually feel just inside to get your centers. So I can feel there's the center there, and there's the center just there and center there. So that's explained in the instructional video that Durkee have created. Now you've got quite a few clamps for this. Now the way to do this, the way I like to do it, is once I've got everything sort of positioned how I want it, I slide my clamp down, find my edge, and I just push down like that. Now what I'll do is go back the other way, slide up, take out all the slack, and just push down like that. There we go. Now you've got smaller ones to fill this gap here. So there's a big one and a small one on each side. And in fact, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come and do this side. So I'm going to slide that back there. And it does take a little bit of effort to push on, but you get used to it. Trust me, it's worth it. I might come back this way now and slide down there. That's on. Get this one in. Now I'm leaning way out over the table, probably get my head under the camera. You'll more likely be doing this right down in front of you, which is a whole lot easier than reaching out over a table. You'll notice there's a little release lever on here as well. That always goes to the outside of the hoop. So we'll just pop that one in there. Much easier when you're standing in front of it. Right, this, like this. Let's just pop that one in. And this guy, there we go. That is so securely hooped. There is no way in this wide world, whatever design you throw at this, that this fabric is going to pull in the hoop. Have a look at the back. Perfectly hooped and beautifully tensioned. Absolutely superb. Now again, when you've done all your stitching and you're ready to take it off, you just get this handy little gadget. Much easier to take them off actually, and just pop it up like that, and the clamps come off. So it is really super, super easy. But you'll definitely get a great stitching result. So that's the big jumbo frame. Let's just move that out the way. I wanted to point out also one of the most common uses, I think, for a jumbo frame or for a sash frame. Let's move all these out the way. In fact, we might use this one, is if you ever do a lot of lace making. If you're into lace making, you'll no doubt be using wash-away stabilizer. Now, when you make freestanding lace or any freestanding design on an embroidery machine, if you get any pull or push on the fabric, particularly pulled around the sides of the hoops, and the lace stitching the stitch points don't stitch where they have to because the fabric has moved, then your lace will fall apart. And there's nothing more demoralizing than you've spent, sometimes lace designs can be 2-3 hours of stitching, you wash it out, and then the bits and pieces have not held. And that's because generally the fabric has moved in the hoop, and it's not the design's fault, it's just the fabric's moved in the hoop. It's very common. And a little tip, of course, folks, when you're using wash-away stabilizers, is if it's a really humid day, and if you're in the tropics or somewhere where the humidity is a big issue, the stabilizers will lose a lot of their integrity because they are a water-soluble stabilizer. So sometimes you need to use more of it. I hear a lot of people say just use a single layer. Believe me, if you live in North Queensland and you use a single layer of wash-away stabilizer, you probably won't get a good result at all. I like to use 2 layers. It just ensures that I'm going to get a great result. But if you use wash away, say I'm doing a big lace design or multiple lace designs, and you use wash away on one of these frames here, the result will be superb. So let's just put this on again, pop that down, slide that up, push it into place. I can already see that's being tensioned beautifully. Again, with this one, we've got one large one, one small one. I might get this end one done first. We'll get this done here. That's popped into place beautifully. Let's get this guy over here. Just slide that across. Push that one on. And one more small one. What did I do with him? There he is. And just pop that into place there. And again, that is hooped beautifully. And that will like I could play that, almost play it like a drum. So if I was doing a lovely big lace design, could be 100, 150,000 stitches, it will stitch out beautifully. And again, really easy to take off. Just use this little guy and pop them off like that. So, as I said, great instructional video on the website from the Durkee company. The product is in stock now, so we do have it. Prices are all on there. You can check that out. If you have any questions and or about compatibility, please get in touch with us. You know, the normal ways. But really love this product. Have always loved Sash frames in the commercial industry. One of my favourite frames to use. And oh, and by the way, if you've just gotten into making badges and all the fun things that have just been released by the Embroidery company with the Mero functions, Sash frames are brilliant for doing badge making because you can just repeat your badges and you'll get a great result. It's one of probably the most common use in the industrial industry for this type of frame is badges and freestanding lace products, etc. Anyway, I'm excited. I hope you are. I hope that's been informative and happy embroidering. Cheers.